अब पछतावत क्या होत है जब चिड़िया चुग गई खेत. Translating this couplet literally into English. O farmer, why despair now that you allowed the birds to destroy your fields? There is a deeper meaning to Kabir Das's famous couplet for all walks of life, including hair transplant. When we allow the scalp donor to be devastated, our greed for more grafts, getting trapped into a hair transplant due to our weaknesses, overharvesting and poor results are bound to occur. For example, today's patient, who was in direct communication with me personally for almost a year till beginning of 2022, when falling for the lure of a cheap hair transplant in India, he allowed himself to fall into the trap of a clinic where doctors do not do hair transplants. A hair transplant in India which he now regrets, and he's come back to me wanting guidance as to what his course of action should be, how he can save his grafts which were transplanted. The doctor told him that they're permanent hair, but they're all falling off. It's not even 1 year after his hair transplant, and his hair which were planted are falling off like autumn leaves. So before we discuss in this video why his hair that were transplanted are now falling off, why he has bad scarring in the scalp donor, let us discuss about the morphology, the etiopathogenesis of overharvesting and resultant poor hair transplant outcomes after hair transplant. So there are fourfold ways in which overharvesting may happen. Number one, overharvesting happens when the doctor or the team which is doing the hair transplant does not respect the 1:4 or 1:5 ratio of harvest, meaning that they do not leave a hair follicle grouping between two punch holes. When you do not do this, the two punch holes, the adjacent punch holes are too close to each other, the intervening bridge of tissue breaks down due to necrosis, lack of blood supply, the two holes coalesce and form a bigger scar. Not only two adjacent punch holes may coalesce with each other, merge with one another, but also 4 or 5 holes, when they merge, a bigger patchy scar is formed, which is visible from a distance. You have now irreversibly damaged the scalp donor, the goose that lays golden eggs. The second reason why overharvesting can happen is when larger punch sizes greater than 1 millimeter in diameter are used, or punches which are cheap, which wobble, creating a larger area of damage mechanically as well as thermally, causing much more scarring than the skin can handle, much more scarring than a hair transplant surgery can take in its stride. In this case, shock loss of hair which have not been harvested is massive. Not only do you lose grafts for future hair transplants as baldness evolves over time, but visible scarring happens. The very sight of the donor area is abhorring. Many times it looks morbid, like you've got skin disease at the back of your head. And this, my friends, is extremely difficult to correct. Thirdly, overharvesting can also happen when we harvest a lot of miniaturizing hair. These miniaturizing hair may not be able to withstand the process of relocation to the recipient area, and they will all fall off over time. Many of them will not even survive the process of hair transplant. The fourth dimension of a badly done harvesting procedure, the fourth reason for overharvesting is when we do not respect the boundaries of the safe donor zone. Every person's safe donor zone is unique. It has to be marked before the start of the surgery. Also, we have to cater to the genetics, the genetic history of the patient, his family, while determining the safe donor zone for that individual. If we exceed the boundaries, go outside the safe donor zone boundaries, those hair are impermanent in nature and are soon going to fall off after the procedure, if they do survive the procedure. So to summarize, overharvesting is an act that may be willingly done by the person who's doing a hair transplant in a conscious effort to chase graft numbers, and also when the clinic, to compensate for not being able to do body hair transplants, does larger number of grafts, harvests larger number of grafts from the scalp donor, many times going outside the boundaries of the permanent zone. It also happens when the clinic, to compensate for not being used to using magnification during the harvesting process, compensates this shortcoming by choosing a larger punch size. Punch sizes 1.2 millimeters, 1.4 millimeters, and even 1.5 millimeters in diameter. These punches can do untold damage to your scalp donor. Most of these clinics employ itinerant hair transplant teams that come for 2 or 3 hours to do a procedure. They have so many cases to perform the same day in this clinic and in other clinics in the city, that using greater punch size, not using magnification to prevent eye fatigue, they throw caution to the winds, ignoring patient safety, ignoring the health of the scalp donor, leading to poor results which are so commonly found today. Many times the patient also is to be blamed, not doing his research properly, falling prey to unethical clinics which offer very cheap discounted rates for a hair transplant in India, a hair transplant in Turkey, in Istanbul, and so many other places around the world. The patient is most of the time aware of what's going on, aware that the doctor is not doing the procedure, aware that something wrong is happening, but he cannot pull out. He cannot pull out because he's paid the entire fees up front. And that is what I keep cautioning patients. Never pay the clinic upfront. Paying upfront is a recipe for disaster, but the patients will still not learn. The lure of a cheap hair transplant is so much that even the patient throws caution to the wind. He is not mindful of the fact that this is a surgical procedure. This procedure is supposed to be done by a doctor who's a specialist doctor, a plastic surgeon or a dermatologist. These same patients spend much more money later in getting a revision hair transplant done. But revision hair transplants cannot in any way make the scarring go away, make the grafts that you have lost appear again. Thank you for watching again. If you have any questions about this talk, if you want to do more research about bad hair transplants, about overharvesting the scalp donor, please follow the link above. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. Have a nice day and may God bless you.